Penguins Capitals are headed for a Game 7. With all the pressure on the Caps, they responded with one of their best efforts of the postseason, dare I say yesterday.
Yeah.
Controlling play from the outset, winning 5-2. But really, we're not talking about the game today, are we?
No, we're not. And might I add, again, like they've dominated the shots on goal in this series.
200 to 133.
They've dominated most of the play. It's just the Penguins have scored more goals.
Right. And you know, and in any other series, that's what we're talking about.
Of course
today.
we are.
This isn't any other series.
Nope.
We are once again talking about the health of one of the best players of this generation, maybe the best, Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
Now, in his second game back after suffering a concussion last week, a couple of scary moments for the Pens captain. Got tangled up with Niskanen, hit in the head with Patrick Hornquist's stick.
Yep.
That was early. Then a few minutes later, Crosby was tripped, going to the net, and this is real time here. Look out. Head first. He was slow to get up, did remain in the game. Afterwards, there was some, how do you say, confusion as to whether Crosby was indeed tested for a concussion.
I just kind of knocked the wind out of me, so, you know, kind of a fluky fall, but, you know, not one you want to take too often.
Were you checked out at all after that?
Yeah.
Period break?
Yeah. So, pretty standard.
Was he evaluated for a concussion during the first intermission?
No.
Did we get clarification?
Yes. Crosby further clarified the issue today, saying he was evaluated after the first period. It was determined he did not need to go through concussion protocol, that according to Sid. Meanwhile, NHL Deputy Commissioner Bill Daley said this to USA Today regarding the issue of why didn't concussion spotters remove Crosby from the game after that extremely violent collision behind Braden Holtby's net last night. I think it's a fair question to ask.
Yeah, of course it would be.
All right.
That's what everyone was asking after last night,
Yeah.
Mr. Blue Man Group. Tell us.
I hope you're sitting down for this one. This is what Bill Daley said. Depending on the mechanism of injury, slow to get up does not trigger mandatory removal. The protocol has to be interpreted literally to mandate a removal. Ice, as compared to boards, is in there for a reason. It's the result of a study on our actual experiences over a number of years. Ice has been found to be a predictor of concussions. Boards has been not, or not been, if I'm reading it properly.
Right. You got excited there.
I'm so stunned by this statement, I'm reading it backwards.
Right. Boards has not been.
Boards do not
Ice,
begin
yes,
to have
boards,
been boards.
not.
Read good me. So, should Sidney Crosby have been pulled from that game, McAuliffe? And the other question I got to ask you is, have you read the concussion protocol spotters thing? Have you actually read it? I used to read it like every night before I went to bed.
Let's walk through this entire thing
All right.
by the letter of the law or by common sense, because you were saying the entire year that this was going to happen, that a player in the heat of an extremely important game would not come out of the game. You said it was going to happen. It did happen. And if people don't believe it, I got proof that Blue Man Group said it was going to happen. They're wearing all blue.
I'm wearing blue.
December.
Listen, you're going to find some moments. I don't think it's going to spill over into the postseason, personally, because the history of the National Hockey League is they forget to do things come the postseason.
Oh, really?
The way they normally do.
You don't think you'll see that in the postseason?
I don't think you see anything close to that. Nothing close to that. I think right now it's early enough, and everyone has a heightened sense of there's a spotter in the room. Let's take care of the guys. You telling me Game 6 of a postseason series with Connor McDavid, Oilers home, needing to win, 1-1 game, he gets taken out of that game last night?
I'll tell you what.
No chance.
I'll tell you what.
No chance.
That's proof you need it. I'm wearing the exact same thing I was.
No, you weren't.
On December 5th, 2016.
That's my move.
Pretty damn close.
That's my move.
Pretty damn close. Now, by the letter of the law, well, as you mentioned, I spent the entire morning reading the concussion protocol as put out by the NHL and the NHLPA. Would you like to hear the letter of the law, Sydney?
Let's get.
I highlighted. I made notes.
I don't know.
I put footnotes.
This is all complicated.
Look at this stuff here, right here.
Highlighting stuff.
Highlighted. Wrote notes for myself.
Look at that.
Part 3: removal from play for acute evaluation. Symptoms and signs leading to removal of play. If any of the following symptoms or signs occurs after a direct blow to the head, including secondary contact with the glass, boards, and ice, or an indirect blow to the head, such as a blow to the body that causes acceleration, deceleration of the head, the club shall remove the player from the playing environment for an acute evaluation due to these symptoms: headache, dizziness, balance or coordination difficulties, nausea, amnesia, cognitive slowness, lightness, sound sensitivity, disorientation, visual disturbance, and tinnitus, which is ringing of the ears. And I think I said that right.
I thought it was something else.
Ringing of the ears.
Yeah.
None of those, from what we saw on TV, would apply here.
Correct.
Well,
That's
from
fair.
what we saw. We didn't
Yeah.
evaluate the guy from what we
No,
saw,
yeah.
what everyone else saw that wanted him out. None of that would apply. Sign number 2, lying motionless on the ice. Didn't happen. We didn't see that. Sign number 3, motor incoordination balance problems. Didn't really see that either. Sign number 4, blank or vacant look. You decide for yourself.
I saw a blank or vacant look.
Sign number 5, slow to get up or clutches his head. Okay, so here it is. Ready? A player who is slow to get up or clutches his head, including any part of his face, following any of these mechanisms of injury: A blow to the head or upper torso from another player's shoulder. B, the player's head makes secondary contact with the ice, or the player is punched in the head, including any part of his face, by an ungloved fist during a fight. Exceptions: if a player is slow to get up or clutches his head following a mechanism of injury other than the 3 listed above, removal from play is not mandatory, and club medical staff shall exercise their medical judgment as to whether to remove the player for acute evaluation. So while the distinction is made between the boards and the ice in Section 3, Part 5, that distinction is not made at the top of Section 3. So while all this is legalese, there's a part of me that wants to call BS on it as well.
I would like to as well.
Like, is this for the
I would like to as
protection
well.
of the players, or is this for the protection of all involved so people don't get sued in the future? How do you make a distinction between one at the top of the section and then remove that distinction, unless, of course, you have evidence to say that the boards would cause less than the ice?
According to their testing.
Right.
The NHL's testing of this issue with their boards. Look, if we're talking about not getting sued,
So there is a distinction within
within the NHL,
this
yes.
protocol
But if-
between ice and boards in one spot and not another.
But if we're talking about not getting sued, like there are people who have also gone through plenty of this kind of testing,
Yeah.
who believe the NHL's really leaving themselves open to being sued,
Oh, you mean like
based on some of the things you've read.
a guy that we talked to, 6 years ago on a slimy little podcast over at The Score?
Yeah, it never turned into anything.
No.
In that same USA Today article, Bill Daley made the comment. Chris Nowinski, the co-founder and CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, was called upon to give his 2 cents into this. And he said that the league has, quote, a poorly written policy, the one you just read,
Yeah.
a poorly written policy that should be amended before the puck is dropped in another NHL game. Any head contact is a possible mechanism of injury. I can't believe we have to say that in 2017.
So the
That
NHL
guy knows what he's talking about, too.
The
Just wanna remind
NHLPA is reviewing the incident, at least according to the USA Today. And for those who don't know why we had the conversation about the concussion spotters at the start of the year and why we were telling people that they didn't even need to be athletic therapists or certified athletic trainers in the building, this is the exact reason why we had that conversation at the start of the season. Now, if you want to get into if a guy doesn't want to go, has been down this road before, and probably knows how to get out of this, then we can have that conversation too.
Yeah.
I don't know what people are more interested in or less interested in. I don't know if they'd rather just talk about the game because all this is too hard for their brains to comprehend, and it would be even harder if you suffered many concussions in your
Correct.
life for your brains to comprehend all this. Like, I don't know what the public's consumption level is on this, and I think it would vary from person to person. But we do know that hockey players want to play hockey, and that the cup is their ultimate goal. And these rules were put in to protect them, and yet in the most important time of the year, we all kind of know they're going to try and skirt it.
Agreed. Tom Sestito was practicing with the Penguins today. Tom Sestito is a tough guy, in theory.
Yeah.
He's a tough guy, and we don't know if he's going in for Game 7. But we're now every time Sidney Crosby goes around the net, something happens.
Right.
Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot with Sidney Crosby, and he's not changing his game. He's going to go in those tough areas.
Yeah, he goes into the dirty areas.
and he,
That's
and he
part of his
deserves
game,
praise
right?
for it.
Yeah.
Is it time for a tough guy for the Penguins? Does that do anything for you?
Yeah, listen,
I'm
I
just
know-
bringing it up. I
know there'll be people in Ottawa who say he doesn't need a tough guy. There'll be people who don't like Sidney Crosby and the way he plays. Say if you're going to go get dirty, then you're going to pay the price. I'm going to tell you right now that if Dave Semenko is sitting on that bench, Jay Beagle doesn't do what and Sidney Crosby gave it back to him just as much as he gave it as he took it. But I'm telling you right now, the cake and eat it too surrounding the NHL and people who love the game, to me, is mind-blowing. It's the exact reason why Chris Neil was in the lineup for the Sens against the Rangers. It's the exact reason why some people argue against the enforcers or whether or not you want the instigator rule. We're right back where we started. And if I'm the Pittsburgh Penguins, of course I put a guy who can punch you in the face in the lineup so that maybe you won't do what you did.
I mean, does it help you? Does it not? That's the crazy part of this argument to me as well. But we're here now, right? We're back. You're right. We're kind of back at square one
Right.
in a lot of ways, and I don't have an answer for it.